Hola equipo y bienvenidos a un nuevo video de Gen3. Espero que todos estén muy bien. Familia, hoy tenemos un video muy especial. Ya casi para nadie es novedad que El Salvador como país está trabajando en diferentes proyectos con relación a Bitcoin. Tenemos Bitcoin City, tenemos los bonos volcán, tenemos el tema de la minería de Bitcoin con energía volcánica y el hecho de poder pagar con Bitcoin para recibir algún producto o servicio. Les cuento que tuve el placer de entrevistar al artífice, al asesor que está detrás de todo esto, que es Samson Mow. Él fue el director estratégico de Blockstream y actualmente es el CEO de Pixelmatic y de Gen3. Y ya nos va a comentar qué es lo que está haciendo como empresa. Y obviamente, como les comenté, también es el arquitecto de los bonos volcán en El Salvador. Espero que disfruten tanto esta entrevista como yo lo hice y puedan sacar información importante, sobre todo si ya están en este mundo cripto. Aprovecho para consultarles y leerlos en los comentarios a qué otros invitados especiales les gustaría que traigamos al canal para poder hablar sobre criptomonedas y qué es lo que se viene. Obviamente que si te gusta esta temática de las entrevistas, déjame saberlo con un buen like, suscríbete y activa la campana. Y ahora sí, disfruten de la entrevista.
Hi Samson, thank you for joining, thank you for accepting the invitation. I know that your schedule is very tight, but thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me on, Louis.
My pleasure. So we're going to make some questions. Please feel free to share with us your information, your knowledge. We are going to talk about many things. So because I have an audience that are already in this crypto world, but there are some beginners, we could say like this, and we need all your advice for us. So we're going to start with the first question. Please tell us when you met Bitcoin.
I would say I first read about it probably in 2011, but I didn't really dig into it until about 2013. And I usually say I formally got into Bitcoin in 2015 because that was when I joined BTC China officially. So that's my rough timeline of entry into Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you for sharing with us your information. But I have another question. What made you buy Bitcoin?
Well, I was interested in Bitcoin because it stood out from anything else that has ever existed. It's a decentralized currency. And when I first read about it, I thought it was a virtual currency, sort of like a game currency or something like that. But as I dug into it, I understood that there is nobody controlling this, and participation in the network is completely open to anybody, from mining to usage and transactions. So that was when I decided to buy some Bitcoin. So the 2014, 2015.
Perfect, excellent. So you are a holder or trader?
I'm a hodler.
Oh, okay, hodler, nice. Me too. I don't like to make trades every day because I only buy and enjoy the ride. Yeah. Well, this is like a personal question. Maybe you can share with us how much was your first Bitcoin purchase and what was the price of Bitcoin at that moment. And if you can tell us, of course, how much was you bought.
Well, I've given you the time range, so it's 2014 to 2015. So somewhere in there is the price of my first purchase.
Perfect. Of course, if you want to see how much was it, please go and make your own research. The next question is, well, if you had to choose 3 altcoins, which would they be?
That's a tricky question because I'm Bitcoin only. But I do have one Litecoin because Charlie Lee is my friend and he gave me one Litecoin on a paper wallet. So I just kept it as a keepsake.
You have your paper wallet next to you?
No.
Show us?
No,
Okay.
it's somewhere else. But yeah, I have everything is in Bitcoin except for one sentimental Litecoin.
Okay. And do you have one sentimental Bitcoin Cash too or not?
Well, a lot of Bitcoiners still have Bitcoin Cash because we never split after they forked, because it's not worth the hassle. And especially with Bitcoin Cash price declining, it doesn't really make any sense to move your coins from cold storage and try to get a couple dollars out of it.
Okay, perfect. So could you please tell us about Volcano bonds you are working on in El Salvador?
Yeah, so this was something I proposed when I was working at Blockstream. We basically design the structure of a financial instrument that would be known as the volcano bond, but it's really just a traditional bond structure with a Bitcoin component. So half of the funds raised will go to buy Bitcoin. And then after 5 years of hodling, then El Salvador would start selling off some of their Bitcoin holdings, recoup their initial investment into Bitcoin, and share the upside with the holders of the bond token.
Nice. How much time are you working on it?
Well, back then I spent a lot of time on the modeling and the architecting of how it would work. But now it's really in the hands of El Salvador. So we're waiting for them to pass their new digital securities law that will allow them to facilitate the sale of the volcano bond tokens on the Bitfinex platform. So they'll grant a license to Bitfinex, and then hopefully people around the world that are able to invest in it will be able to partake.
Of course, perfect. So I would like to take part of when it's available to buy. Do you know when will be that?
Well, we're waiting for the law. So there have been a number of black swan events this past year that have derailed things. So the war in Ukraine, between the Ukraine and Russia, energy prices, there's been a ton of things, and also gang violence in El Salvador too. So I think that has derailed some of the momentum that they had going. But I believe the focus is back on the economy now. So hopefully the laws will go to Congress soon, and then the bonds will launch hopefully before the end of the year.
Oh, nice. Sounds great. So I know that you are working with El Salvador, and could you please tell us which countries have contacted you for some advice in Bitcoin?
Well, we are working with a number of other countries or city-states or special economic regions. So one of them is Prospera. It's a special economic zone of Honduras, and they've made Bitcoin legal tender as of April this year. Then there is Madeira. It's an autonomous region of Portugal. We're trying to work with them to increase Bitcoin adoption in their region. And then there is Senator Indira Campos in Mexico, who we're working closely with to try to push Bitcoin adoption in Mexico. But that's a more difficult battle, I think, just because there's a strong central bank in Mexico. But they're very keen on financial inclusion. And the only way to achieve financial inclusion is through Bitcoin. So there is a chance that it could happen in Mexico, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
Okay, got it. So, and you were working with these countries like when you was in Blockstream or when you quit Blockstream?
So a lot of these that I've just mentioned are after Blockstream. So I started a company called Gen3 to accelerate hyper-Bitcoinization around the world. So more Bitcoin adoption everywhere and getting Bitcoin into the hands of more people around the world. So these are some of the relationships that we developed after I left Blockstream.
Okay, perfect. Talking about Gen3, could you please tell us something about Aqua and the difference between liquid and lightning?
Sure. So I guess we can do liquid lightning first. So both are considered to be layer 2s of Bitcoin because they're extending the functionality of Bitcoin without adding a shitcoin token. So when you're transacting in Lightning, you're opening up channels and you're establishing a direct network with peers, and there's no blockchain involved. That's why you can achieve very high throughput, and the cost is incredibly low to transact. With Liquid, there's actually a blockchain, but that blockchain is anchored to Bitcoin. So again, there's no shitcoin token involved. If you want to transact in Liquid, you still need to use Liquid Bitcoin. So that is Bitcoin that's locked up on the main chain and unlocked in the side chain. And Liquid Bitcoin has interesting properties. So the block times are faster with 1-minute blocks. And then you have confidential transactions. And you can have other assets issued in the Liquid network, like USDT or Canadian dollar stablecoin, or pretty much anything. You can create a token for it. And this is all done without needing an altcoin or a token of some sort. So you're still using Bitcoin to mint and transact on these networks.
Okay.
And I would say Aqua's focus is to be a Bitcoin and liquid asset wallet, or a Bitcoin and Tether wallet, because I think Tether is one of the most important digital assets out there right now, because that is a key for a lot of the world to effectively get a bank account when they cannot get a bank account.
Mhm.
So they're using USDT as if it were normal dollars, and they're able to transact that. So the hope is with Aqua, we can push in Latin America, get more adoption of Aqua, and having people use USDT on the Liquid chain instead of on the other shitcoin chains. And I think that will be a benefit for everyone because you also have that confidential transaction that protects your privacy.
Sure. And are we working right now or not yet?
So Aqua was launched under Blockstream, and we took it over after I left. So what we've been doing is rebuilding it from the ground up to be both Android and iOS, support both Android and iOS. Previously, it was native iOS. So I think if you want to go to Latin America, you need to have the Android version. So for the last couple of months, the team has been working on rebuilding it effectively.
Perfect. And do we have a date approximately of the relaunch?
Possibly September sometime. We're getting pretty close.
This year?
Yes.
Ah, nice, nice.
So one of the interesting things that we're trying to roll out in Aqua is what we're calling native tether transactions. So with all these different networks, like even with Liquid, you need to pay in Liquid Bitcoin to transact. Or if you're using USDT on Ethereum, you'll still need to buy Ether to transact. But we have this thing we're integrating called Liquid Taxi, which allows you to pay in USDT to transact. So what that means is you could download the wallet, you could receive your salary in USDT, and then spend USDT to send it onwards or to pay for things. So I think this will be a big benefit because then people can just use it as just a wallet, as if it were PayPal or Venmo or whatever. They don't need to think about Bitcoin or anything else. They can just use US dollars on Liquid.
Perfect. That's a great idea. Of course, that we need something like this to pay with crypto in everywhere, I think. Yes. Well, I was doing my research and I found something about a NFT market where everything is traded with Bitcoin. Please tell us more.
Right. So at Gen3, we also took over operations of Raretoshi. It's an NFT marketplace, and it's built on the Liquid chain. So all the NFTs are on the Liquid network. So again, there's no shitcoin involved. It's just minting on Liquid using Bitcoin as the base. And the reason that I kicked this off at Blockstream was because there are a number of artists, Bitcoin artists, that wanted to be able to create NFTs of their artwork and have people trade it and transact their artwork and back and forth. So they really didn't have any choice before Raretoshi. They would have to use OpenSea or some Ethereum-based platform to create their art, which is kind of wrong for a Bitcoin artist. So we just created this platform to give them a place where people can effectively endorse them or sponsor them or support their favorite Bitcoin artists without having to go into shitcoins. So when you want to add funds to Raretoshi, you can put Bitcoin on chain or Liquid Bitcoin or Lightning Bitcoin. And in the end, you just it's a seamless experience. So it all converts to Liquid Bitcoin, and then you can exit in normal Bitcoin.
Perfect. That's great. So I know this is a personal question, but many people are curious to know how many bitcoins you own, and would you like please to share with us this information or not?
I lost it all in a boating accident.
Okay. So, but I have another question. So, I would also like you to tell us how you keep them safe, and if you can recommend us some maybe hardware wallet.
Yeah. So, if I had my Bitcoin still, I would definitely be using hardware wallets, and I would probably use a multi-sig setup. That way, you're not at risk of having your seeds extracted from hardware wallets, or if you've written them down or inscribed them into a metal backup, that still could be stolen. So having a distributed seed by using multi-sig, then you're minimizing that chance, and you're also minimizing vendor risk, where you're just relying on one vendor, one hardware wallet vendor. So the best situation is to use a number of vendors, Ledger, Bitbox, Blockstream, Jade, Cold Card. These are all good options. And if you can create a multi-sig wallet with them, then you're pretty safe. That there's no risk that one bad supply chain could impact you.
Well, Samson, as I told you, I'm from Peru, and I would like to know if you have plans to visit us either for tourism or for work.
Yeah, I definitely would like to visit Peru sometime. This year I'll be in Argentina for La BitConf and then back to El Salvador for adopting Bitcoin. So this year's a bit tight, but maybe next year I can make my way to Peru. There's actually a Bitcoiner in Peru. His name is Juan Ignacio, and he's been trying to help Gen3 reach out to the president of Peru. So he actually helped us to write a letter talking about Bitcoin adoption, but we didn't hear back yet. So we'll see. But Peru is definitely on our radar. We need to get more Bitcoin adoption in Peru.
Well, we are in our last 4 questions. Please tell us any recommendations for people who are just starting in this crypto world.
Sure. So I think there is a big temptation for people just getting started to go into shitcoins because they think Bitcoin is expensive. It's 23,000 right now. They think if they invest in something that's worth a penny, maybe they'll make 1,000 times profit. But I believe that's a wrong line of thought, and it's also a very dangerous line of thought because then effectively you're just gambling. So you may as well just go to the casino and gamble at the casino because that is exactly what you're doing if you're getting into shitcoins. There's also a heavy unit bias with Bitcoin. People look at it and say, 1 Bitcoin is 23,000, but Bitcoin is divisible into the hundreds of millions. So you can go and buy some Satoshis. So it's just how you look at Bitcoin. If you look at it as expensive, then maybe 23,000 is expensive, but you don't need to spend 23,000. You can buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. And the right way to think of things chronologically is that we are still very early, because if people are still thinking Bitcoin is expensive now, that means they don't fully understand Bitcoin and how it works. So you're actually very early. So don't feel like you've missed out because Bitcoin price is high, because Bitcoin will keep going higher because it is designed to absorb all monetary value in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So we already noticed that you really believe in Bitcoin, of course. Please define what Bitcoin is for you only in 1 sentence.
1 sentence, huh?
Yeah, very hard maybe.
I would just say Bitcoin is money. Bitcoin is now information, and information is money. So there is this bridge between the two things directly. Whereas previously you have money and you have debt built around it, like physical cash, because that was IOU to redeem gold, which was money. But now you've kind of eliminated that need for a middle step, right? This is if you turn gold into information, which is valuable in and of itself, and that information can be transacted around the world in the blink of an eye, and that is now money. So it's a very massive transformation that I don't think a lot of people understand. And also a lot of people don't really understand money anymore too. We're just indoctrinated to believe that you need a bank and you put your money, whatever it is, in the bank. And when you go to the bank machine or bank teller, you ask them how much you have and someone tells you that. And whatever that answer is money to most people. But that's not really organic or natural. The natural form of money is private money, which people, anybody in the world, can transact and use. And you don't need someone else to tell you what money is or how much you have.
Exactly. Like it was like a very big 1 sentence, but it works. Yeah. And do you think that flipping between Bitcoin and Ethereum will happen or not?
Well, the thing is, we call shitcoins because they are very malleable. You can fork it, which is basically changing the rule set at any given time. There's no way to resist that. If the development team behind it says we're changing the rules, then everyone just follows along and changes the rules. They can change those rules in any way they want. So Ethereum has done a lot of things in the past year to boost its value proposition, right? They've done a lot of initiatives like EIP 1559, burning transaction fees, and then they've done things like the merge and locking up Ethereum. But they could easily just say, we're going to double or triple the number of supply of ETH, right? Everyone gets a free airdrop, right? These are things that shitcoins do. So to be worried about a flippening is not really relevant, because any of these things can suddenly increase their supply intentionally or accidentally with an inflation bug. So, it's not really a big deal if anything flippens Bitcoin. And there have been shitcoins that have surpassed Bitcoin's market cap because they printed 1 trillion of them and they sold $1 of it. So they suddenly had a market cap that's massive, but it's not really meaningful because there's no liquidity and there's no market for it.
Perfect. Nice. Well, I have our 2 last questions. Please tell us your prediction for Bitcoin in 2024 after the halving.
Well, that's a long ways off. I currently have a prediction that we'll reach 100K by the end of this year. It's just a prediction. There's no analysis or TA behind it, but it's just a guess so that we have a target to aim for. But 2024, I think will probably be definitely well past the next all-time high. So, yeah, I don't really know. It's on short time horizons, like years, it's really difficult to gauge. But on a 5 to 10 year time horizon, I would say Bitcoin is going to go to 500K to $1 million per coin.
When?
In 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. Okay, nice. So it's, of course, a very good moment to keep buying Bitcoin.
Well, I think it's always a good moment to buy Bitcoins. I'm biased.
For example, do you recommend the strategy of DCA?
Yeah, whatever works. Different people like to employ different strategies. DCA is one good strategy because you're committed and locked into it. But buying the dip is a nice feeling too. So it really depends on your personal preference.
Yes, but we don't know when will be the dip.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. So I prefer to show the people how to use DCA instead by the dip, because we don't know, maybe today will be the dip, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe we don't know. It's very strange, but that's the idea of Bitcoin. That's why we are here, and that's why we like Bitcoin, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So, Samson, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much again for sharing with us your knowledge, your experience, and of course that I hope to see you soon in Peru.
Yeah, thank you, Luis, and hopefully we'll meet soon.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Familia, espero que les haya gustado la entrevista y el buen momento que pasé con Samson. La verdad, un crack en el tema y obviamente sabe de lo que está hablando. Por eso también les aconsejo a que holdeen Bitcoin. De repente muchos de ustedes no lo están haciendo por no tener la información correcta y quizás están aprovechando otras monedas, como dice Samson, para poder capitalizarse o poder ganar dinero. Puede ser que funcione, como también puede ser que no. Como él dijo, podría ser un tema de gambling. Pero bueno, ya es decisión de cada uno. Como saben, esto no es un consejo de inversión, ni tampoco yo soy un asesor financiero. Espero una vez más que les haya gustado la entrevista y nos vemos en un próximo video. Muchísimas gracias. Chao, chao.